What's happening, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Mac and Reed Show right here on Second City Gridiron. Follow at Second City Gridiron for all your Bears news. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Get the audio-only versions on Spotify, iTunes, etc. Do the same. Hit the like button. Tell your friends. Look up the great articles being written at WC Gridiron on social media. We got Making Monsters, Bear and Balance, Bears Banter, Bear Bones. The list goes on and on. Keep up with all our great Bears programming. As the season rolls on, we're already in week 8. Unbelievable. Halfway there almost. I'm Evan Mack, as always, at 311 Mac, joined by my co-host. His walk-up song is Wood by Taylor Swift. He's more pumpkin spice latte than man this time of year. And he's going road tripping to Baltimore with his good pal and podcast host, Evan Mack, to see the Bears make it 5 wins in a row this weekend. He is at Ross Reed on social media. It's Ross Reed, folks.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It is week. Yeah, it's going by so fast. Which that's what she said. But we're still enjoying the moment. We're riding a 4-game winning streak, and that's the only Space Jam that I recognize in the background. I don't recognize that corporate nonsense that came out a couple of years ago. We're going to talk about some horror movies later. That LeBron James version was a horror movie to the fullest.
I think it got all the Razzies that year if they still do that, as it should. A remake that nobody wanted. Ooh, shout out Mason, who's in the chat. Got a lot to get to. We'll be recapping that Bears win. Clubbed up again as they just beat the Saints. Some injury notes, some Caleb Williams notes, some Ben Johnson notes, all the takeaways and things to look forward to as we get ready for Baltimore. And again, like we alluded to, week 7 was full of some great things in the NFL, ups and downs, and we got a World Series set we can kind of preview as well. And then, as Ross alluded to, it's spooky season, so look at that. You strike me more as the pump. You love candles. Little thing about Ross. He blows a quarter of his paycheck at the Yankee Candle, and he probably has he's got like a pumpkin spice one in there in the collection, maybe.
Yeah, there's a pumpkin. I usually will lean more towards the apple cinnamon, like during the daytime, and then they'll have like a muskier one for at night. They actually have a Halloween one that comes in a dark candle. I am a platinum member at Yankee Candle. Thank you very much. That's like when that guy showed his Costco black card to his girlfriend that one time at the basketball game, went viral. So yes, I don't play around with my Yankee Candles. It sets the mood during the time of the year, and I got to enjoy my mortgage. It certainly costs a lot, so whatever I can do to enhance the situation, I'm all for it.
House got to smell good, man. Good candle collection goes a long way, my friend. So Bears coming off a win, make it 4 in a row, now standing at 4-2, 2-1 at home, 26-14. We were both there at that game as well on Sunday. With the weather was a factor. It was a rainy one, but then it cleared up and it was very sunny and nice. But really, the takeaways from that, certainly you feel like the two big takeaways were certainly the way that this team is now able to run the ball makes them very dangerous. And especially with the emergence of Kyle Monangai and the way that DeAndre Swift's played the last 2-3 games, very great. And the offensive line, for that matter, say what you will about the Saints, still you beat who's in front of you. Paving lanes and taking some pressure off Caleb Williams, who we'll get to in a bit. And then the defense, despite, the end of that second quarter, which was just a poor, that got Ben Johnson pissed off for sure, letting the Saints get in the end zone to end the half and then to begin the half as well. Take that away. Defense playing very well. They engineered a couple nice drives. Spencer Rattler in the Chris Olave show in the end of the second quarter. Started the third, but Jake Moody was leaned on for 4 field goals. Bears were able to get to Rattler with 4 sacks, I think, 3 interceptions. He lost a fumble. And again, big games from Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift. Those are the positives. I think everybody alludes to the big negative being Caleb Williams' performance. And you could argue, outside of those interceptions, Spencer Rattler certainly outshowed him in sort of a revenge game from their Oklahoma days. But still, team took the loss. But Caleb certainly had to be bailed out by the run game, bailed out by the defense. I guess we'll lead on that sad note, not sad, but negative note with Caleb Williams. Does that worry you at all? You know, the under 200-yard performance, only 15 completions on the day. Yeah, what do you think, Russ?
It doesn't worry me. I like Weisel Joe is in the comments here, and it says, why wasn't that win more satisfying? I think we are all clamoring at this point for Caleb Williams to take off and ascend to that next level, especially when you're looking around the league. You see like what Drake May is doing right now. We'll talk about Drake May in a little bit, but at the end of the day, for me, I'm not too concerned because I think us Bears fans are in a mode of like we are so thirsty for a competent, consistent, above average to great quarterback that we just want it so bad. We want it so bad every single week, and we have to realize that number one, Caleb Williams, even though he is uber talented and has all the ability in the world, is going to, for lack of a better word, he's going to relapse sometimes. And when I say relapse, he was making some of the consistent mistakes that he has done in the past that did work for him in college, but isn't going to work for him in the NFL. And really that is just holding on to the football for a long time, trying to run around, trying to play hero ball, I was sitting at the 25-yard line, 9 rows up, and I can tell you he was whipping passes at guys like 100 miles an hour with a wet, slick ball, and it just wasn't feasible for these guys to even get their hands on it. Roman Dunze had a couple drops. I do put some blame on Rome for those drops, but Caleb is going to do that. He's not a perfect product. He's going to have some moments like this. He's going to have some games like this. I think you could tell even throughout the win and all the good that was going on, Ben Johnson was really upset with how the team played, mostly because that pass game could not get going, and he addressed it in the post game. And I do think that he's going to be able. He's the perfect kind of coach to get Caleb dialed back in and fix it. But I do think that this is going to be the roller coaster of Caleb Williams throughout his career. He's going to have some games where he's going to look awesome, where he's going to string some good performances together. He's going to have some games where he looks like a point guard and he's getting the ball out quick and decisive to his receivers and letting them make plays. And he's going to have some games like he did on Sunday where he's like, I'm looking for that hero ball. Hopefully those become few and farther between as he matures into his career. But you have to remember, he's still a very young guy. He is only in his second, career NFL season, and it's going to be that's the biggest job Ben Johnson has this season, in my opinion, is coaching more consistency out of Caleb Williams. The good thing is, I think Caleb owned it after the game. He said he had a bad game. He knew he had a bad game. I don't think he's arrogant by any stretch, of the imagination. I do think that he wants to play winning football. And I do think that the head coach and coaching staff will get him there. And I'm always of the mindset, we've been doing this for a long time. It's better to win the football game and still find a way to fix it rather than lose the game. And then, that's what makes the situation worse. So at the end of the day, they still won. They're still on a 4-game winning streak right now. They can go into Baltimore this weekend and really boost their playoff odds to above 50, close to 60% if they get a win. And you have to hope that Caleb Williams kind of dials it back a little bit and takes the easy plays that's given to him. And I do think he will. I think at the end of the season, we're going to see a quarterback that's going to top out around 38 to 4,000 yards, 25-ish touchdowns, probably less than 10 interceptions. And, I'll be completely honest with you, and they win 9-10 ball games, I'll take that from year 2, Caleb Williams, year 1 in the Ben Johnson offense. And then we see how this matures going forward. So I know people want it right now. And I get it. And I'm not absolving Caleb, but we also have to have a little bit of patience on this. It's still going to be a work in progress as this thing continues to go along.
We're very much that instant gratification culture, right? Where now we want it to be turned around immediately, especially once Ben Johnson was signed. You think back to that as like, this is the dream hire. This is it. But things don't happen like that in sports and just a lot of facets of life. You need time, especially in sports, because football, it's 53 guys on this roster, completely different offense for Caleb Williams. So just going back to my question about being concerned about him, it is like Viso Joe pointed out, it's a little too much deja vu for my liking when you think of this as like, it's like an 06 Bears team where they can just great takeaways and just have, a 1-2 punch of running backs. And if that carries them as far as it does, then that's great. But Ben Johnson alluded to it. He did like the physicality. He said it was the most physical game that he had seen this year. The way they were able to really just lean on the run game, outrushing the Saints 222 to 44. DeAndre Swift 124 yards and a touchdown. Another great game. Not to mention Monungai with 81 yards on the day, which was great. When you stop, I know he's older, but Alvin Kamara and company to 28 yards. I mean, that's a win, and that's so huge. It's a huge part. It's a lot of how the Saints predicated their offense is to be running the ball well. And with Caleb, you're just going to have games like that, I think, where you're really keyed in like that. You don't have it all together. We've seen the opposite end of the spectrum. Look at that Cowboys game with 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards. It's going to be up and down as he still grasps in the second year, just, how he develops. Like you said, drops were to blame, weather was to blame, certain just things just didn't go your way. So in a situation like that, you just have to lean on the kicking game. You have to lean on the running game, and the defense, which is the defense. It should be noted that they've really turned it around in these last 4 weeks and are a point of pride for sure. When you think about, again, getting after Rattler for 4 sacks, just super impressive what they've been able to do. Our own Jacob Infante was tweeting, and it got a lot of traction about 8 interceptions in this 4-game win streak, 10 sacks, 19 points per game allowed, 11 for 37 on third down conversion rates, and no 100-yard receivers allowed. I mean, Olave he was pretty damn close. He was about 5 yards under, but Dennis Allen in this sort of revenge game against the Saints, really great work. When you think about how you started and how you finished, really this defense setting the tone, creating those takeaways, and Deshaun Wright, you're doing his adjustments. I think, looking ahead to Baltimore, it's a tougher test too, especially if Lamar Jackson does trend towards playing with the talent that they have in Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. Not only that, but obviously having to stop the run in Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry if it gets going there. You need all hands on deck in defense. And so, pointing to the injury report, looks like Cole Kmet's day to day and Tyreek Stevenson a little banged up right now. You really need bodies in that secondary, especially Tyreek Stevenson would be sorely missed when you think about the matchup against Baltimore. And to get to the point in the comments, why wasn't this win more satisfying? To me, it is satisfying. 4 wins in a row compared to last year, you hang your hat on that. That sun came out, and I was overserved, and I had a great time. I'm sure you were having just as good a time as I was, and everybody around me was. It's a party when you're winning and you're changing that narrative, booze are not involved, when you just go and beat that team in front of you, because we've seen, again, the whatever 10-game losing streak it was last year couldn't beat teams like this last year. Or just you look at that when they got within 6 points, when they made it to 20 to 14, and you're like, boy, here it is, shades of Eberflus again. Right. The team shows resilience, and that's really fun as a football fan to see when they do that. And it is very up and down with Ben Johnson and how he views his team, but he obviously appreciates the win at the end of the day.
Number one, it is very difficult to get wins in the National Football League. So you take any win you can get on a silver platter and you enjoy that win. I don't care how you got it, how it happened. I don't care if you won 50-3 or you won a sloppy game like what we had on Monday night 2 weeks ago, right, against Washington, or even this past game right here. You're still 4-2 at the end of the day, and you'll take that all day long. I think Bears fans right now obviously have a lot of scar tissue. I'm a person who's over 40 years old. So for me, that scar tissue is Justin Fields to Trubisky to Cutler we can go on a litany of quarterbacks all the way back to, my childhood, which was Eric Kramer, which was Steve Walsh, which was, Harbaugh and all these guys. And Faisal Joe's 100%. It's been the mantra for the Bears for the longest time, even going back to 85 when they won the Super Bowl, defense, running game, special teams, and the quarterback's just along for the ride. He's just like, but I will say, Caleb's not those guys. And at some point, franchise aside, we do need to separate him from even his contemporaries that have been on the team recently, most notably Justin Fields and Mr. Trubisky. He is not any one of those two guys. And furthermore, I think the most important thing, Ben Johnson certainly is not Matt Eberflus, John Fox, Matt Nagy. We can go on, Mark Trustman, whatever, right? He's not those guys. So I get it. There's a lot of scar tissue built up, but we still have to have a little bit of faith and enjoy the win while we can figure this out, and hopefully it gets better. I think for Caleb, the biggest growth factor is on a game like Sunday where the Bears were the superior team in every facet. I mean, that Saints team didn't want to be there. On the sidelines, they looked cold. They looked miserable. You hit it on the head. The Bears were significantly more physical than them. I thought Rattler had a couple touchdowns, of course, but all in all, I thought he actually looked pretty terrible too and had some awful passes and made some awful decisions in the pocket and got bailed out a couple times on some really bad penalties that were called against the Bears. Most notably, the Jaquan Brisker one that was a roughing the passer, but Brisker hits him in the shoulder. That would have been a forced fumble strip sack. So I think the most important thing for Caleb is in those moments, you're already the superior team. There's no reason for hero ball. Take the easy stuff. Just play point guard. Just keep the train on the tracks, and you'll find yourself getting 35 points just off of doing that. That's how better you were than the Saints in that game. But those are things that he has to learn from those kinds of experiences. So I think they'll get there. I think this coaching staff is awesome. They'll get there. But on a positive note, shout out to the defense. The defense was absolutely outstanding. They were flying around the ball. They've been playing shorthanded in the secondary, and those guys still keep making plays. They still keep forcing turnovers. I thought the defensive line played a lot better. The linebackers have been great. Tremaine Evans right now is on a Pro Bowl / all pro caliber season. He had the interception at the end of the game to kind of seal it and cap it off. And they've been playing good. And, even shout out to Jake Moody in special teams. That was his first go around in Soldier Field, and he looked very comfortable there. That was a concern of mine coming into this game. It's a very different animal to kick in Soldier Field. And then to me, the crown jewel of the game was just the running game. And the play designs that Ben Johnson had were outstanding. The offensive line, 2 games in a row now, has really dominated the trenches and opened up some holes. I know Colson Loveland has been a hotbed topic with what Tyler Warren has been doing with the Colts. But if you look at the tape, yes, Loveland's not spectacular right now in the passing game. That'll come. But God, in the running game, he has been a dynamic blocker and has done an amazing job to open up some holes for both Monangai and Swift. And credit to the running backs too. I think Swift is really starting to get going. Once that guy gets downhill, he looks like a completely different running back. And Monangai, it's going to take 2-3 guys to knock him on the ground. And I think as you look ahead to hopefully meaningful December and January football in Chicago, you're going to need that guy. You're going to need the guy that went to school in New Jersey and has played in cold weather and is physical and wants to hit somebody in the mouth, because it was only 55 degrees on Sunday. Saints indoor team, they did not want to be there at all. Those elements rattled them. Now think about some other teams as they come into Chicago later in the year, and you got to tackle a guy like Monangai. So credit to the running backs for finally getting going too the last couple games.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. And on the defensive note, again, Tremaine Edmunds earning that money and kind of regaining that status as a premier linebacker since he came from the Bills for that big payday to the Chicago Bears. Playing well, he had that takeaway, like you said. He had a sack. He led the Bears in tackles again. TJ Edwards, thank goodness he's back. He was second in tackles. And Ben Johnson, super thrilled, even though I'll talk about that in a second, that the defense had 4 takeaways Sunday. Now the Bears are leading the league with takeaways, 15 of which came in this 4-game win streak, which is unbelievable. And on that note of Kyle Monangai, that was his first touchdown on Sunday, which was so cool. And the play before he got in literally the whole team was trying to push him into the end zone. A great moment, and then thankfully they gave him the ball in the next play, punched in at the one, and Ben Johnson said, "quote I love that. I want to see that on every single run play. The more population we can have with the football, the better off we're going to be." I think he might be a robot though, to an extent too. Just the clip of him being mic'd up and Ben Johnson surfacing and reacting to the interceptions, to the big plays, and not reacting is something I've never seen from a head coach before. And then you just go to the locker room and he's like, "Good, better, best," and there's the energy again. It's crazy to see that sort of like emotional control compared to like a Dan Campbell or anybody else in the league. It's interesting to see. He's a strange bird.
he might be crazy. He might be a psychopath. He looks like a horror movie villain. He looks like who's the guy? Like Ryan Murphy might do one of those monster series on him, like just like Ben Johnson. Yeah. He just walks around making plays with somebody's skin on his face. That guy is nuts. But I genuinely think he was upset at the way things were going, despite the fact that they were winning the football game and getting those turnovers. This guy is an offensive coach. He's happy for his defense. But, man, he wants that offense humming on all cylinders. He's not going to be happy until it does. And I like that as a head coach. I think that's why I feel more confident about the situation going forward than maybe in the past with the quarterback head coach situation. I just don't think Ben Johnson is going to let Caleb Williams fail consistently long term. And so I have faith in those guys to get in the lab and fix it. To Dante's point, not really. I've been kind of asking for Luther Burden to take those snaps back there, but that's tough to ask for from a rookie that's also trying to learn the offense. And he was late to training camp. You also don't want to get him banged up on special teams. So I think that's what Devin Duvernay gives you. Is he's just an adult back there that is not going to be explosive, but he's I hate to say the word expendable, but he's a guy that if he gets a little banged up or something like that, he's not an intricate part of the offense. So that's okay.
Feeling a lot better than already gone and forgotten returner from last year. Why can't I remember his name for the life of me?
Oh, yes.
Before him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pretty high draft pick. It was worth forgetting.
Yeah. I mean, we've even had like the Dante Pettises of the world and guys like that. We haven't had anybody consistent since Tyreek Cohen.
Cordarrelle Patterson had its moments. He was so dynamic. He was at his peak. And I think, just to Dante's question, he's just a place filler. But it makes me so jealous to see that there are other teams in the league, even just, I harken back to Washington, like Luke McCaffrey's able to, on one return, get to the 40 or the 45. Mm-hmm. Why can't you do that? And that's not just indicative of Devin Duvernay's performance as an individual. It takes all 11 guys, and it's tough. As soon as there's going to be a good return, you'll see it get called back too. I guarantee it. But I would like to your point, Ross, maybe you see a little more Luther Burden or switch it up a little bit there. And then Vice of Joe asked, do you see Poles making any trades? If so, what positions? And I think, we talked about secondary being a bit concerning. But other than that, again, just based on these last 4 games, you're in pretty good shape. I don't think you want to, shake up the world. I don't know if there's any depth in a position that you think. I think running back has been such a great surprise. The offensive line being in the place they are. Offensively, they look set. I feel like they might, kick the tires on some bodies, but they're not going to be, chasing like a Brandon Graham who just unretired, something like that. That's not a trade, I know. But, what do you think, Ross?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think, if this team was a little bit closer to being a legit Super Bowl contender, potentially, but I don't think you want to get the cart in front of the horse right now. 2 things I have not liked from Ryan Poles and what he's done is kind of get a little bit trigger happy and trade away draft capital for guys that aren't really going to help you get you over the hump, right? We all remember the what's the kid's name? The wide receiver from Pittsburgh went to Notre Dame. I've already blacked out his name.
I know. Right? I'm right there with you.
Even the Montez Sweat trade. The Montez Sweat trade was, in hindsight, it kind of looks okay, not great, and then give up a 2nd round pick for him. So I think right now you stand pat, you sit on your picks. You have to keep building this team through the draft. You also need to stay malleable in Jamar. Yes, I'm sorry, Chase Claypool. You also need to stay malleable in your cap situation as well. There are going to be some guys that are going to have to get paid coming up, but also you want to be able to maybe pounce on some guys going forward. I know Max Crosby was the hot name the last couple of days because the Raiders situation is a nightmare. Max Crosby comes with a $27 million cap hit this year. He's old, $86 million guaranteed over the next couple of years. That's just a lot to add to your situation if you don't think Max Crosby gets you to, I don't know, beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship game or something like that. And then all of a sudden, the Raiders are going to want 2 first-round picks to start, right? And that's just way too much for me. He might kick the tires on some lower-level guys. I think there's some guys from the Jets and even the Dolphins you could maybe get at a cheaper rate. And if so, Jaden Phillips is a guy out there that's a big Dolphins name that might be on the trade block as well. If so, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't want to see any premium picks go out the door and guys get brought in for major cap hits.
Fair point. Velus Jones, it occurred to me also, the awful player we couldn't think of, who was the return man.
He just popped up on the Saints practice squad today. So Saints had an injury to a running back. One of their running backs tore their ACL on Sunday, and so now Velus Jones Jr. is back in the NFL again on like his 4th or 5th team with the Saints.
Go ahead, Ross.
I was gonna say I think negative on Jeffrey Simmons too. It's just going to cost too much, and I don't. The Titans stink, but they're not going to give him away for free.
The first thing that comes up when you Google Chase Claypool is a video entitled "How Chase Claypool Ruined His Life." So that's always encouraging to see something like that when you Google someone gone.
He's probably made about $30 million in his career. So he couldn't have ruined it too much. He's doing okay today.
You got the bag. It's all right.
Yeah.
Now we're on to more AFC North opponents with back-to-back AFC North opponents, again with the Ravens and then the Bengals. Again, be out there in Baltimore this weekend. It should be, similar like crisp fall day. Yeah. Again, it looks like after having the bye week, they're going to be a little fresher. Lamar Jackson still seems pretty questionable at this point with that hamstring injury there. Those are always weird, right? So we don't know at what stage they're at. Otherwise, I haven't seen anything else of note in terms of injuries for the Ravens. I think outside
Roquan's
early on, Roquan, questionable with a hamstring as well. But no one else of note. Obviously, Bears, we mentioned Cole Kmet and Tyreek Stevenson and Grady Jarrett, that nagging knee injury. Hopefully the Bears can get healthy. Maybe they'll get Noah Sewell back after that concussion protocol, perhaps. But, when you talk about it's a completely different team, right? When you think about a young Spencer Rattler on a bad Saints team that's looking to tank for, a top 5 draft pick at this stage. If they do have Lamar Jackson in there, I don't care what the record says, going into Baltimore, it's going to be tough, especially when you have King Henry. And it's a different game plan, and it's a different test for this defense. So curious to see how they rise to the challenge. And then to that end, Caleb Williams, with how up and down he's been, really hitting the film room and hitting the practice field a little more seriously this week. Not that he didn't last week, but with that sort of narrative that he had a down week, he wants to pick himself back up and pick his team back up and start making headlines again. And keep this win streak going at 5 games.
Absolutely. I think the big injury for the Ravens already happened early in the year. And I think hasn't been talked about enough as to why they're on a catastrophic downfall to start this season. That's the Madubuike injury. That guy is an all-pro defensive lineman that really clogs up the middle. He is dominant in the run game, and he's the reason why guys like Roquan Smith and other players on that team, on that defense, can really help to shut down the run. And ever since he's been out and he hasn't played all year, that Ravens defense has been a complete shell of themselves. You can run on this team, which I think is a good thing again for the Bears this week. They want to keep that going. And that's what you do. You lead on the run game again this week, and then you can go play action. And that secondary for the Ravens has been pretty vulnerable too. So, again, even though you're going into a hostile environment on the road, I think the Bears should still be able to score on this team. It comes down to if Lamar is playing and can you slow him down. And I like what Dennis Allen did against Jaden Daniels in really trying to limit him, especially knowing that Daniels was not healthy in that game. And he almost dared him to kind of run, played a little zone, had a little spy action. Daniels wasn't really taking off that much. Also, didn't have enough time in the pocket to even or the lanes to do it. And I think you kind of see something similar this week with Lamar Jackson, even if he plays. And right now, until they tell us no, I'm expecting Lamar Jackson to play. Even though he didn't practice yesterday, they've been mum's the word today, but we'll know for sure Thursday and Friday. But for now, I'm expecting him to play. But even if he plays, he's not 100% healthy. He might be a little gimpy out there. He might be, tentative to take off and run. And you have to kind of play that to your advantage a little bit. You want to kind of make Lamar Jackson sit in that pocket and beat you, passing football. Now he can. he's one of the most elite quarterbacks in the league, and he is a true quarterback. But I think that's the game plan for them. And of course, at the end of the day, especially on the road again, you hope that you can keep it going with the turnovers and keep forcing the turnovers, and the Bears have to capitalize and get the ball in the end zone, not field goals, in the end zone for touchdowns.
I feel the same way, Ross, and certainly lean on this defense and how well they've been able to stop the run against some tougher running back competition, running game competition these past few weeks. Toughest test so far, certainly with Derrick Henry. Doesn't get any easier with Chase Brown the following week, but Lamar Jackson likes to run too. If you could at least take that element of their game away, then it will again take some pressure off of Caleb Williams and the rest of this team. I'm excited, and again, 5-game win streak would be nice. But back to back away games coming up for that. We'll get predictions at the end. I got no other Bears notes unless you had anything on your end, Ross.
No, I mean, listen, this Ravens defense, 32nd in the NFL in points for, the 30th in the league in yards given up. They're 28th in the league in how many first downs they give up. So again, you can get your offense going against this football team, and hopefully the Bears can get it rolling. And hopefully we can keep this train rolling and go to 5 in a row. If you start winning 5 in a row and you beat the Ravens, you probably end their season, number one. And they're talking about firing Harbaugh the next day in that city. They might have run this course. And then B, you're really putting yourself in a good position to think about a playoff berth. And that's something we haven't been able to talk about with this team in quite some time now. That'd be nice to turn our attention to with some very winnable games on the schedule if they can pull this one off.
Very pivotal game for the Ravens. Make no mistake, too, when a lot of these teams don't feel that they're necessarily out of it. And the Ravens, in this place, I don't think they ever thought that they would be in this position, 32 points, averaging 32 points a game that they're giving up at this point without Lamar Jackson for some time. But now, fresh off the bye, let's see which Ravens team shows up on Sunday. Predictions coming at the end. Let's go over week 7 and some of the highlights in the division, man. That was the Icy Hot Bowl. Is that what we called it? Joe Flacco versus Aaron Rodgers. And man, it was a fun one, back and forth. And this Joe Flacco hype is real, man. He is as poised. He looked better than Aaron Rodgers out there, throwing for almost 350 yards and 3 touchdowns. As he got the Bengals to 3-4 as they're just kind of treading water until Joe Burrow can come back. It was pretty great, this reemergence of Jamar Chase. He went off 16 catches for 160 yards. Man alive. The Rams are rolling 5-2 in another London game. Matthew Stafford threw 5 touchdown passes. Sean McVay is happy for sure. Patriots, we talked about it. And Tennessee is just, a nightmare right now. But Drake May, again, helping put up 31 points against the Titans, beat who's in front of you. They're 4-0 away, 5-2 overall, really impressive. The Chiefs, in a divisional game, they still just looked like the Chiefs, 31-0, blanked the Raiders. That Eagles Vikings game was pretty spicy. And then, Jalen Hurts and this whole Eagles offense, that big critique, they can't be passing the ball this year. They are not passing the ball well, I should say. Jalen Hurts finally had an over 300-yard game, 3 touchdowns. Devontae Smith on 2 fantasy benches for me. Good times. The Panthers are 4-3 against the lowly Jets. We'll talk about our boy Justin Fields in a moment. That was an ugly one, 13-6. An insane comeback when you think about 33 points in the fourth quarter is just mind-boggling with the Broncos improving to 5-2 against the Giants. New York football is just undoubtedly terrible. The culture of that team, man, 38-24, beat the Chargers. They are just damn impressive getting to do it against Justin Herbert, who threw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, I mean, he's a sneaky MVP choice to me right now with a 94-yard, 3-touchdown game. He's just unstoppable. And then the Cowboys improved to 3-3, beating the Commanders. We saw the Packers sneak one against the Cardinals. And the 49ers, they're still, again, with all these injuries, still being able to get past the Falcons, a pretty spicy Falcons team at home 20-10. Christian McCaffrey's been great this year for sure. And then we got that fun doubleheader that you and I are big fans of, Ross, with a 9 o'clock start for that Seahawks Texans game that I was asleep for sure. But they improved to 5-2, 27-19 win. Lions beat the Buccaneers and Baker, Red Hot Baker, 5-2 teams there. It's like I said, I feel like a lot of these divisions are still very much up for grabs. You look at the NFC North and how that's looking like maybe the best division in the league as far as overall record at least is concerned. The Bills and Patriots 5-2. I should say the Patriots 5-2. Bills 4-2 right now. AFC North. I mean, Baltimore's at the bottom. It's an uphill climb for sure, but they could maybe sneak a wild card berth in if they get their stuff together. The AFC West, outside of the Raiders, looks pretty good. The East is going through the Eagles. NFC South, Tampa Bay or nobody. And then the NFC West with the Rams and the Seahawks and 49ers. This seems to be a recurring theme. Would you like about week 7? Some highs, some lows?
Yeah, I mean, I think the highs, the two dynamic running backs from like 2-3 years ago are dynamic again. I think, that's Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey. Those two guys right now are neck and neck for offensive player of the year. Those guys are
unreal.
They're carrying their football teams right now, in my opinion. And I think Daniel Jones has been a nice story, but what Jonathan Taylor has been able to do there is absolutely outstanding. And Chris McCaffrey, you hit it on the head. The 49ers are just completely decimated on both sides of the football. George Kittle, he came back, but he didn't even catch a football in that game against the Falcons because McCaffrey does everything. 24 carries, 129 yards. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground. He had 7 catches for 72 yards. So this guy's going for 200 yards of total offense. He is basically that entire football team right now while they're just kind of piecing it together until they get some guys healthy. And they're 5-2, and they look like they're seemingly in the driver's seat for that division. Stock up. I think that was a big Broncos win, just to come back. And I think that was a really bad Giants loss. I think it was a bad Giants loss, particularly for Brian Daboll, who I thought had he have held on and won that game, maybe they were building something between him and Dart and Scatterboo. But now, at 2-5 and they're 0-4 away from the Meadowlands, he is up there again, in my opinion, on head coach fired at the end of the season. That's just a game that you cannot blow. You cannot allow 33 points to the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix in the fourth quarter. In particular, when you have on that defensive line, you've got Kevon Thibodeau, and you've got Brian Burns, and you've got Abdul Carter from this year, and Dexter Lawrence. That's just a lot of talent on that defensive line, that defense, for you to be able to do that. Eagles, like you said, I figured the Eagles were going to right the ship. I still think they're the best team in the NFC, and I figured they were going to figure that part out. And kind of stock down. I mean, the Jaguars are just absolutely a mess to me. And I look at what they did during the draft, and I think people forgot already. They traded a future first-round pick to move up for Travis Hunter, and they don't even use him. I mean, he had a breakout game on offense with garbage time, stats, but they don't use him like they promised they were going to use him, which was on offense, which is on defense, maybe some special teams. You gave up a future first-rounder to the Browns, and the Browns had a big win. They got a nice player in Judkins. He scored 3 touchdowns. And the Browns, they don't have a quarterback, but they're building in other places. They also took Mason Graham in that draft, who's been playing very well too. So I think the Jaguars, that trade is going to come back to bite them in the butt down the line.
They're off to a hot start too. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, they were, and it just kind of has fallen apart a little bit the last couple of weeks. And then, for me, just the Monday night games. I love that Buccaneers team a lot. They're just getting crushed with injuries right now. They lost Mike Evans to the season, probably with a broken collarbone
In that first game back.
situation.
Yep.
Yeah, first game back. Godwin has not been able to stand the field consistently since he returned. So there's just a mess right there. And then, Baker had his issues with the officials and during that game too. And then the Texans, they're also a mess. They lost Nico Collins in the fourth quarter of that game with a concussion. They already didn't have Tank Dell this year. Their offensive line is a mess. We talk about these young quarterbacks. CJ Stroud looks like he's regressed, from his rookie season, right? And which is why you gotta. There's a lot of ups and downs with these guys. To be patient. And then finally, I tweeted about this today. I don't think Justin Fields is a starter in the NFL anymore. I think people that watch the game enough can see that. But I still think he's a good person, and I still think that he's a good young man who works very hard. He's a human being, and I thought what Woody Johnson did and said today was complete utter crap and classless, and he took no accountability for putting this GM together and this head coach, and they paid Justin Fields $40 million to be a starting quarterback when the NFL was already telling you he was not a starting quarterback anymore. So this is on you, Woody Johnson, but you don't publicly throw that young man on the bus like that. If anything, you pull him to the side, or there's a chain of command. He's got an offensive coordinator and a quarterback coach and a head coach and a general manager. You let them address that situation, and you need to look in the mirror and see how you've made it the just disaster now for decades at this point. It hasn't been good since Rex Ryan and stabby Mark Sanchez. So I think that was complete crap today, what Woody Johnson did. And, I wish Justin nothing but the best. I think we all thought here in Chicago, it was, well, not all of us, but most thought it was time to move on. And although I don't think he should be the starter anymore, I just don't think you do that to him publicly like what happened today. I thought that was crap.
Yeah, that just speaks to a franchise that is 0-7 right now.
Right.
And there was a clip of this kid saying, "I was born into this. I hate this team." That's like it's every Jets fan, and it always reminds me of the Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David's friend, who's the Jets killed him more or less. Yeah. They're just god awful. And so for Woody Johnson to throw someone under the bus like that, you have to take, again, as an owner, you have to take accountability for this whole experiment as Justin Fields getting paid. You gave him the confidence. You gave him all the weapons. That's on you, man. This old team around him. There's 10 other guys playing on offense with him. There's 52 other guys on that roster who you can blame. And don't just try to uplift Aaron Glenn. He's 0-7 too. He's out there trotting around, celebrating, becoming a meme. And then, they go in ahead and lose a game. They've had some tough losses for sure. But the way that they and injuries and all these things that just go into it, it's very, very tough to run an NFL franchise like that. But you should be taking the ultimate blame in this situation. You said it absolutely right, Ross. With an abject failure say what you will about this franchise, but I don't think anybody deserves that, especially Justin Fields. When he went out, when he goes out for 7 games like that, just bench him and move on. That's enough motivator. That's enough of a punishment for Tyrod Taylor to get the start in my eyes. So, looking ahead, a new week in week 8, as we talked about, Bears, Ravens, circle it on your calendar. Top games. I mean, and I like any divisional games. Giants, you have to go and play the Eagles at home. You said it right, Ross. The Eagles are just rolling right now, and it's sort of, get the ship right type of game. The Texans are hosting the 49ers. The rest of it, I mean, Cowboys, Broncos. Cowboys have just been so up and down. We talked about MVP candidates, and Dak Prescott. If this team, was 5-2 or 6-1 right now, we'd probably be talking about him. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, by the way, already at 800 plus yards. Really great season that he is having at this point. that Packers Steelers game. You got to circle that one though, and
Mhm.
the revenge game for Aaron Rodgers hosting the Packers, as they're 4-2 right now. I like what I see there.
Mhm.
Other than that, nothing really stands out in this week. It's kind of everybody talks about
It's a
the bye
bye
week
week.
from hell when there's 6 teams on bye: the
Yeah.
Lions, Raiders, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Jaguars.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think I think surprisingly, Bills Panthers is a little feisty. I think on paper
I
you
like
think
it.
the Bills should smoke them, but it's been tough for teams to go into Carolina and try and beat them. And so that line right now is Buffalo -7.5. It's a little high for a Buffalo team that's given up a lot of points on offense to opposing teams. And then speaking of teams that have beat the Buffalo Bills, I'm keeping my eye on that Browns Patriots game. That Browns defense is really really feisty, man. And I'm finally ready to see Drake May go up against a really good, legit defense and see how he could perform and see if the Patriots can slow down Junkins as well. I'm not calling an upset in that game, but it would not surprise me at all if the Browns found a way to just play good defense, run the football, and sneak away with a victory against a Patriots team right now that is really riding high, but I'm not quite ready to crown them yet as being the next up and coming in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not ready to crown them either, but they're playing very good
Well,
football. And Mike, I like a Mike Vrabel redemption story. And May, as we talked about, he's playing at a high level, as was Bo Nix. And
mhm.
again, I know we don't like to compare the quarterbacks in the Caleb Williams class, but they're really setting the bar high. And let's move on to the World Series, Ross. Who do you like in
Sure.
the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, who just won a Game 7 in crazy fashion against the Mariners? I don't know how you really get past the just juggernaut that is the Dodgers, and how much money is being poured into this franchise. I mean, I like to root for the underdog to an extent, but that rotation of Yamamoto and Glasnow, Ohtani, Snell, it's just it really looks like a tough sledding ahead, tough series ahead for the Blue Jays.
It is. I'm rooting for them. Game 1 is Friday night in Toronto. I think that helps. I like that crowd. I like their chances with that. We'll be able to sit
I'm
at a bar
supposed to watch
somewhere
that.
in Baltimore and watch that game together. I want to. I'm rooting for the Blue Jays. I want them to win because I think it'll be good and better for baseball and sports as it all. I'd feel better about their chances if Bo Bichette played. He's their all-star shortstop. He's been out for a while with an injury. But I think at the end of the day, what Shohei Ohtani did last Friday night is maybe the best sports achievement single game I might have ever seen in my life. I like, and I don't think we're talking about it enough. I know
Yeah.
this is not a baseball podcast. I know baseball is down, but hey, I'm sorry. What he did the other night is absolutely absurd, and that's just an extraordinary physical sports achievement right there. And as much as I love Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I think it'd be really cool to see him win the World Series, and his pops would love it. I don't think. I think Shohei Ohtani is like Thanos right now. He's just inevitable.
That's the best way to put it. Ohtani is inevitable the way he has been playing, and he is. You think about the past, how we've had the Bryce Harpers of the world and Mike Trout's. Like it's Ohtani or bust right now, and you were just jealous of the player that he is, and certainly they have that embarrassment of riches as far as pitching goes, and getting the bats going. It's lights out. But Ohtani, yeah, just inevitable and such a force. So we'll see if the Blue Jays can at least steal a game or two against them. And Ross, we alluded to it. Oh, did Caleb Williams and Roma Dunze at Adam Sandler's show yesterday do anything for you? That looked like such a fun show, man. I was jealous that they all got to see, and everybody went to that show for that matter. Got to see David Spade and Rob Schneider, and Robert Smigel was in the house, and everybody opening up for Sandler and working with him as well. It's a bucket list opportunity missed.
It is. It
I'm
is.
sure he'll keep touring though, just like is inevitable as a Hotel Transylvania 6 is coming out or something like that.
Exactly. He's got to deal with Netflix too, so I'm pretty sure at some point one of these shows will be shot for a special, and he'll
Yeah,
drop it on Netflix, which would be cool to watch as well. Yeah, that was great. It's good to see those guys have the camaraderie and get them enjoy themselves on a night out at
absolutely.
the United Center on a Monday night. Have a day off after a win. That's cool.
And Ross, your top 5 horror movie Rex right
Ooh,
now.
yes, sir.
Is this just your what's hot right now, or your must watch for Halloween?
So I did a couple of stipulations on this list. As you know, I can talk horror, scary movies for
Wheelhouse.
hours. I left all the classics out. So all your
Oh,
Halloweens, Texas
ah,
Chainsaw, Scream, you already know that. I don't need to tell you, go watch those movies. Those are classics. You should be watching them anyway. So I
nice.
tried to keep it two things. I tried to go contemporary movies that came out within the last few years. And then I tried to pick movies that are actually streaming right now, so you can actually go watch these over the next week and a half, or just watch them
Love it.
whenever. Watch them whenever you want. So top five, no discernible order. I'll go quickly. My first one on the list is a movie called It Follows. If I told you the premise, you would think I'm nuts. It's crazy, but it is a really good scary movie. It's basically about a girl who has sex with somebody and a STD took over her body, and now she has to try and find a way to pass this STD on, this thing, to somebody else and get rid of it. It is a great young kind of like teenage movie, but it's very creepy. I think it's shot beautifully. I think it's a very artistic, scary movie, and I highly recommend it. It's written and directed by a guy named David Robert Mitchell. I just think it's a very entertaining twist on a kind of scary horror movie. So
It's
I
a hell of
do
an
recommend
elevator pitch and a plot point.
it.
Thank
Yes.
you, Russ.
Yes. My second one on the list is a movie that I think a lot of people did see. It's streaming on Amazon Prime, I think, right now, and that is Talk to Me. Basically, another young kind of teenage young people cast about basically they're doing a little bit of a seance. They got a little monkey paw action, and people start going under. And sometimes it reminds me of Flatliners, which is a '90s movie that came out years ago with Julia Roberts, where you get under and they can't bring you back in time, and you start getting stuck in some other worlds, and you see some crazy stuff. But it is a very, very, very scary movie, and I highly recommend it.
Another A24 production too.
Another A24 production, absolutely.
They win.
Third one on my list, I think people missed this one from this past, it was came out last year, maybe last summer. And that was Hugh Grant in Heretic. And I think people just kind of skip past this one, but don't. This one's a little bit more classic, suspenseful, atmospheric. It's not very bloody. It's not gory at all, but it is Hugh Grant throwing 100 miles an hour for the entire movie, and it's a really cool, just claustrophobic. It's got a lot of religious vibes to it. The ending's got a little bit of a twist to it that I think you enjoy, but definitely if you don't want something as bloody or gory, but still something very spooky, Heretic is perfect. Come from Hugh Grant performance. It's awesome.
Like it.
Number 4 on my list, I put Barbarian here because everybody was obsessed with weapons from over the summer, as they should be. And you need to watch, Zach Cregger's first movie, Barbarian. If you enjoyed weapons, certainly watch his first movie. It's got Justin Long in it, of course. Fun cast. It's got a classic house at the end of the street, spooky things happen, what's going on in the basement kind of vibe. And then the last 20 to 30 minutes, very similar to Weapons. They're just like, you're in a roller coaster and you're like, boom, we're going. And it just gets crazy, crazy wild. It's a very, very fun movie. I think that one's going to be like one of those classics that like our kids are going to watch for a long time. It's going to be one of those that lives on for a long time.
Nice.
And the last one on my list, I went with Art the Clown. I wanted to get something as disgusting and grotesque and violent and just downright sadistic. Who watches this? Who is this for? It's for me. It's Terrifier. If you've never watched, they're now up to, I think, part 4 on Terrifier, like 3 or 4.
Looks like 3.
Yeah, 3. The first one is always the best. And there is a kill about 45 minutes to that movie with a young lady who looked very lovely, and she's hanging down, and that's all I'll give you. And just watch it and come back and report. And it is nuts. Art the Clown has since become a phenomenon. He's a big costume now, and I go to Spirit Halloween and stuff like that. But there's nothing beats that first Terrifier film. It is just absolutely nuts stuff.
Yeah, these clowns are always nightmare fuel, and I thought Pennywise was bad. This guy's real horrible.
Art the Clown makes Pennywise look like I don't know the Care Bears. It's,
Makes Pennywise look like Bozo. Yeah,
yes.
very calm. I love it. Very desensitized to all of that. I appreciate that. It Follows, Talk to Me, Heretic,
Yep.
Barbarian, and Terrifier. No Conjuring in there? Nothing like
No
that?
Conjuring. I do enjoy the first Conjuring. I like a couple movies from that Conjuring universe, but I wanted to go. I think a lot of people have seen those movies. Those movies have made hundreds of millions of dollars at this point. So I wanted to make sure that we got some kind of mainstream movies, but still a little bit under the radar in there, but easily accessible as well if you could watch. And also, most important thing for me in a horror movie, these are all like a tight 1 hour 40, 145. Like when it's horror, I don't need you 2+ hours in a movie. I need you in and out. 140, that's the perfect kind of horror movie for me.
Couldn't drag on. I'm with you there. I love it. That is Ross's list of 5 must-see horror movies right now. And that'll do it for us today on Second City Gridiron. Thanks to everybody watching, listening in. Follow at Second City Gridiron for all the Bears news as the season rolls on, leading up to the Ravens games. Don't forget to tune in for all our great programming. Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you get the show. Remember to like, subscribe, tell a friend or two, follow the channel. Making Monsters, Bear and Bounds, Bears Banter, as I said, Bare Bones, all this great programming. I'm Evan Mack. I'm at The Real Evan Mack. Ross is at Ross Reed on social media. Predictions for the Ravens and the Bears game.
I predict that we're going to have a lot of seafood. We're going to have a good time in a beautiful city that's on the harbor.
No shellfish for you, though, buddy.
No shellfish for me, but I'll eat some regular fish. Baltimore is a very beautiful city.
Sir.
And I'm happy to go there. I'm going to pick the Bears to win this football game, actually. I'm going to pick the Bears to win this game 27-20. I think compromise Lamar, whether he plays or not. I think the Bears can score on this Ravens defense. And I think this Ravens team, they're the year from hell team. And I think the Bears are the perfect team this year to take them out back, Art the Clown style, and just end their season this Sunday, please.
Man, I hope you're right. I'm going to take the other side of the coin, and I'm usually wrong about these things, Bears fans, so don't fret. But I'm going to take Ravens 28-20. A little stumbling block for the Bears, but they're still trending upwards. They will make it competitive. It'll be a good time. For now, we say deuces. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening in. Be good to each other out there. So long, everybody.